The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. This is Phil Sperling from Printco. And before we get started on the webinar, I want to thank you for your time and attention to once again dealing with changes for California prescription forms. I want to make sure that I am technically going well. Can I get a comment in the chat box by someone as far as, can you hear me fine? And can you see the screen that says Understanding California Assembly Bill 149? All right, thank you for the feedback. Sounds like I am technically working here this morning. So let's get started. This will probably take about 20 or 30 minutes of your time. So again, I appreciate that. We got a lot to cover, a lot of new developments. So for the time being, just from technical standpoint, I do have everyone on mute to eliminate any unnecessary background noise. If you have any questions throughout this webinar, please go ahead and ask your question within the chat box. That's kind of in the bottom portion of your GoToWebinar listing there. So the latest development is, as of Wednesday morning, Printco is now officially finalized with their approval from the State of California Department of Justice. So as far as I can tell, we are one of 4 printers that are now officially approved, and we are the only trade-only printer that's doing that. So again, once again, you're in good hands. We're able to take care of you, and we're going to be finalizing all of these changes into full production here shortly. So that is our latest change, and I'm excited and I'm grateful for all the work that the Printco team has been doing to get us to that point. So I'm also seeing some names on this webinar that has been with us for a while, and if you're keeping track, this is approximately the 3rd year in a row that we're dealing with a change or something going on with the California prescription forms. So we've been there, done that. We had a whole 12 days notice of getting official approval this year, as opposed to last year when there was 4 days notice with the previous law change. So we're getting a little bit of extra time to get a head start on things. All sarcasm aside, you know, these changes in the past years and probably even this year will be very frustrating because of having to communicate to the customers possibly any misinformation that's out there, as well as just the lack of lead up time, especially right around the holidays. So it can be very frustrating, but I want to remind you that these changes are really important. These laws are being put in place to really help reduce and prevent the spread of the abuse and addiction of prescription painkillers. So while these changes can be very difficult and hectic for us and for you, they really are important. You're playing an important role in making sure that we're helping fight those prescription drug abuse. So again, thank you for your role in that. So what is changing? Basically, this most recent law does 2 things. It basically requires that the serial number is going to be barcoded. And that it also, what it did is back in March, it allowed for all of the old compliant forms are now grandfathered to where your customer does not have to throw away their old forms that were previously compliant. And also here's a link for kind of the law change from the Attorney General. And I'll show you that letter here in a second, but that would be a good resource for you to be able to provide to your customers so that way they understand kind of what those changes are. As in the past, I do anticipate, or we should anticipate, that there will be pharmacists that will deny prescription forms that do not have the barcode because of misinformation. So this form, this link will give your customer that letter from the Attorney General clearly stating that the forms that were compliant without a barcode are still compliant. So that way it kind of helps your customer combat against that misinformation that we anticipate running into. The other thing to kind of note is that the barcode is a reflection of the serial number, but they revised how the serial number is done. So previously for 2019, it was a 15-character barcode or a 15-character serial number, and now it is revised in the logic that they're doing, it's a 12-character. So while the serial number is still going to be on there, it will be different than last year due to some of the logic changes for that serial number. Excuse my cold and cough. One of the things that is happening with the change. So again, here's that letter from the Attorney General of California, and in this letter that is going to be available, that is on the state website. We'll make that available on our website, and again, will be an excellent tool in case there are pharmacists that are not fully educated that non-barcoded forms can be used for the next year. So this letter effectively does three things. One, it states that starting January 1st of 2020, every form that we as a approved print supplier must do is that every form after January 1st has to have that barcode in place. So if you have customers that need their forms right now and they don't want to deal with the barcode, they can order and right now and kind of rush those through. And as long as we produce them before December 31st, they don't have to have the barcode on them. But everything that comes out of our door January 1st or later must have that barcode on it. We anticipate that we will actually be starting printing the barcodes early next week. Of course, we got the holidays closed for the holidays within there, but we anticipate that starting either Monday or next Thursday, we're going to start printing with the barcodes on them of everything that goes out. The second thing that's I think really important for your customers that was highlighted in this letter from the Attorney General is that all of the pre-2019 compliant forms are still usable during this transition period. So if your customer had forms from Printco that they got before 2019, but it doesn't have the serial number, it doesn't have the barcode, they are still able to use those. As well as in 2019, the changes happen of adding the serial number to the forms. And so all of the forms that we've produced in 2019 have had a serial number on them. That serial number is going to change in 2020, but all of the forms that were produced in 2019 will still be usable and compliant during this transition period. And then the third thing within the letter is to talk about when that transition period ends. So effectively starting next year, January 1st of 2021, only the barcoded forms are going to be acceptable and used. So if your customers do not use up their old forms over the course of the next year, they will have to destroy and throw away their old non-barcoded forms after 2021. So those are the three main things that are coming out with that law. So with that change, there's some things that will be changing on the form that are kind of a domino effect because of that barcode. So in 2019, with the this, I'll call it the serial number law, we had to add the serial number to the form. And in the serial number, it allows us to report back on a daily basis to the Cures database to allow kind of that closing of the loop of which doctors are ordering a lot of prescription forms, how many are they using, what drugs are they prescribing. And so the Department of Justice is able to monitor and be able to do that a lot more effectively to identify the doctors or the patients that are committing the prescription drug fraud and abuse. So that serial number is what changed last year. This year, with the barcode, there's going to be some changes to that. So again, on the left for our standard pad landscape format, that's our version from 2019, as well as on the right is our version of 2020. So effectively what we have done is that we have created this barcode quiet zone. You'll see the white box in the lower left corner of the form on the right. Within that quiet zone, we've not only added the barcode, but we've moved some of the other formal reporting items that are required on all of the California forms. So at the top within that quiet zone, you're going to see the sequential number, which always starts with 1 for the state of California for every order. The barcode, which is effectively a barcoded version of what's underneath it of the serial number. So the serial number needs to not only be in the barcode, but it also needs to be printed as a serial number. Those are both requirements. And then that SP01 is our printer ID with the state. And as always, I like to point out that we are the #1 approved vendor, and we've been that way since year 2004. So again, reminder, we've been doing this for a long time, even with these changes. And then next to that printer ID is going to be the batch number. All of these are part of the regulations that were enacted in previous laws. So with this quiet zone, we are going this direction because this is effectively what's done for the New Jersey program in their barcoded scripts. This quiet zone, while it kind of creates more of a hassle and restricts some of the things that we can do for the layout for you and your customer, what it does and what it accomplishes is we know that it will reduce and probably eliminate the risk of the scanners used at the pharmacists to do their reporting, that the scanners will read everything correctly. If we had put the barcode over the void pantograph, that background interference will cause certain scanners, not all, but some, the issue of not being able to scan that number properly. In that case, we would anticipate the pharmacist would reject it. It would come back to your customer. It would come back to you. It would come back to us. So this quiet zone really is a key piece to making sure that that barcode is readable. And we went ahead and took all of the other compliance information and put that into that quiet zone. So that way, for regulatory purposes, it's all in one area. Okay. So again, we also had to kind of move some things around. One of the other changes that you will see is, again, all of the blue pre-imprinted items on our pad, we are now imprinting at the time of the barcode, and so it's switching over to the black ink. So if your customer is really partial to that blue bar, that's changing. So again, we're going to kind of still have all of the security features listed, and just a little bit of a refresh, a little bit of a remodel. What we've wanted to do for a purpose is make sure that we maintain as much space as possible for being able to have the doctor's imprint information, maintain this space, as well as try and maintain as much space as possible for the doctor to be able to write within the pad. Okay, so those are two things that we try to accomplish while rearranging things to accommodate the barcode. Next, kind of show you one of our other standard formats, which is a multi-prescription format, otherwise known as CAMS in our product codes. On the top is our 2019 version. On the bottom is our 2020 version. Again, you're going to see some of that blue pre-printed item and information shifted around, as well. It's going to be in black now because it's going to be done on a different press and different process for us. And again, with a landscape version, we are going to have the barcode on the lower left corner, as well as one of the other changes is that the thermochromatic ink required feature goes from a thumbprint in the lower right corner to the bars on the edge, the pink bars on the edge of the form, to be more consistent with our other pads and laser forms. So we've kind of, again, made a little bit of a consistency change, so that way when your customer may switch from a single pad to a multi-prescription pad, they're going to kind of have those consistent things. And then again, looking at a pad but a portrait. So again, this is a pad that's a cam version for us. And excuse me, you can see that for all of the portrait formats, the quiet zone is going to be on the bottom right. Okay, so again, the landscape is going to be the lower left. The portrait is always going to be on the lower right. All right, so some of the key changes with this barcode law. The quiet zone is in a set spot, and because we have to produce that on the base stock, it allows us, one, to be able to keep your costs down. Two, with this barcode, we have to do a lot of programming within the print process to be able to make sure that that data is done correctly, in sequence, and always accurate. So within that, we've created that quiet zone for the accuracy of the scan, as well as making sure that we keep things consistent within our process, so your customer always receives a compliant, accurate form. So kind of, I would think a good comparison is if you get a postcard in the mail, your address is always in the same section, and the intelligent barcode with the direct mail is always in the same section. You kind of have a area that you can't be putting a message or an offer or anything like that onto a direct mail postcard. Kind of similar here with that quiet zone is that we are blocking out that area specifically for the barcode and the other regulatory items. So we're not going to be moving that around except for landscape versus portrait. We have moved, like I said, into the quiet zone, the serial number, the sequential number, the batch number, and the printer ID, which are all kind of for a prescription. It's not important for the prescription. It's important and regulated and mandatory for the compliance side. Okay. One of the other key changes is if your customers are ordering two-part forms. Previously, they had the option of having the second part blank or imprinted. That is changing, and now for all two-part carbonless forms, the second part is going to be imprinted because the law changes and requires, the DOJ is requiring that the barcode and other information is printed on the second part. So that option of having the second part blank is no longer going to be an option. And for those two-part forms, there will be an additional charge if they had it blank before. The price is not going up. It's just that they're going to incur that normally priced item for that second part imprinted. Okay. The next order that your customer is going to have, even if they're not changing anything, will not be an exact repeat, because again, we will need to move things around. So for example, we're going to be moving, as you can see here, let me highlight here, we're going to be moving these items more into this space. So it's not going to be an exact repeat for this next order, as well as, but again, we're going to be able to maintain the space of their imprint, but it's not going to be an exact repeat. So again, please prepare your customer for the ability that their form is going to look a little different, not just with the barcode. With those changes, again, I want to remind you of our proof policy in that, oh, I didn't change this from yesterday, there was an error. There are proof charges on any orders that are under $120. So if your customer has an order that's going to be more than $120, we waive that proof charge. But if it's going to be the smaller orders and it's going to be below the $120, there can be that proof charge. The other thing is that with the change in the base stock and the quiet zone, we will no longer be able to produce and offer these stapled wraparound covers. Those are no longer going to be an option for California. However, the padded wraparound covers are still available. It's a great alternative and it's an easy switch. And quite honestly, it's actually a much more cost-effective addition for your customers. So if your customer is paying and used to those wraparound covers and they get the stapled version, I believe that's approximately about $10 a pad retail for a 5-pad quantity. With the padded feature, that's around $3.50 retail. So a lot lower cost for your customer. If they're partial to the stapled, again, blame it on the barcode. That quiet zone and the layout does restrict us. We're not able to do that additional 1/4-inch perf to allow for doing the staples. So again, it is another change that will impact folks. All right, moving on to some additional kind of questions that we've gotten in the past. You know, what was the timeline? What do we got going on here? And some of the key dates was, you know, this law was put into place back in March. And the way that the law was written was, hey, we have to do this by January 1st, and the Department of Justice is responsible for figuring out and telling us how we're going to do that. So the Department of Justice basically spent the last 9 months figuring out how the changes will be, where they need to go, the new serial number format, and all the back end. We applied all of our samples to be approved by the state by November 1st, and they were in review with the Department of Justice for a good month and a half. And so again, we received official notice that we were approved, our samples were good to go this past Wednesday, the 18th. The next step is that starting January 1st, all orders that are going to be shipped out of the building starting January 1st have to have the barcode. If your customer does not want the barcode or is nervous about that, they need to get their order in quickly. We can rush those out. We can produce them as the 2019 format, and they will still be compliant and usable for the next year within that grandfathered time. One of the things that came up, since we're a trade printer and there aren't a whole lot of trade printers that, actually I know of 2, that were and are eligible for the state, is if your customer says, hey, are you compliant, are you approved by the state of California, unlike New Jersey, in their program, does not list any approved resellers like yourself. They only list us and the other direct printers that are on there. So again, if your customer is looking for, hey, you know, I need to know that it's being produced by a qualified manufacturer, you gotta let them know that Printco's, you know, your preferred supplier and that our name is on the list. You can also highlight that the SP01 is our identification number, and we have been doing this since 2004. We were the first printer that were approved for the California program. Again, another little feather in our cap that I like to tout. Again, what if your customers order their forms in December? No big deal. If they have forms that are without a barcode, they can continue to use them for the next year. And the last thing that I'll point out is, again, we already have the standard forms up and modified on our online storefront. So again, if you log into the online store, you're able to generate those free proofs. It's the updated format, as well as it's going to speed up your delivery turnaround time by eliminating those up to 2 extra days for proof requests. So again, you can create those for your customer. You can save those for those exact repeats and make sure that you have those and submit those. That will speed up your order. It will reduce your cost for proofs, and you might even kind of keep listening. We maybe start offering a lower price for those online orders. Stay tuned for that. All right, last couple points, and we'll be finishing up here. A couple things that we do not have ready yet. Again, we're scrambling pretty quickly here with this short notice from the state, but a couple things that you'll be seeing available from us shortly is we will have updated sell sheets, updated sample kits, as well as updated samples for you to be able to show your customer. So we don't have those ready yet for distribution. Again, we're trying to get everything ready within production, the base stock, and getting ready for production. But give us until next week, and if you need some of those samples, you need additional sell sheets, go ahead and call in to either email me or call into customer service and ask for those. We should have those ready by next week. Those are some things that we are quickly working on here with the short turnaround time. At this point, I'd like to see if there are any questions and clarifications that I can provide you for this. Go ahead and type it into the chat box, and I'll hold for a little bit here. All right, I am not seeing any questions that are coming up. Of course, if you have any questions that you want to talk kind of over the phone, I'm always available to talk about this. I really appreciate your time in attending this. I appreciate your help in kind of making sure that we get the correct information out there to your customers, to the pharmacists, to the end users. And again, this is the third year in a row that we've been dealing with a major change. So while it's hectic, I'm very confident we'll be able to take care of you and your customer as we always have. So again, thank you for attending. Have a great day. Have a Merry Christmas and have a Happy New Year. Thank you.